I have been thinking a lot about who I want to be as a person, as a role model, as a leader. While I'm starting to build Tailor, what is it that I really want to stand for? Welcome back to Fits and Foundering. I'm Amy, and this is where I wear my favorite outfit from my app, Styled by Tailor. And I talk about whether I'm foundering, actually running a business, or floundering, getting caught up in the chaos of it all. And hint, there's normally a little bit of both that goes on each week. But I'm so excited to come back this week and really talk about something that is close to my heart. And this outfit is a really good representation of it this week. So this outfit I wore to the MoMA, which is one of my favorite places to go and wander and be so inspired. I went with my friend Jenny, and when Taylor suggested the outfit, I said, I'm going to an art gallery, find me something it was 16 degrees outside, which is like the hardest weather event to get ready for. And so it gave me this outfit with my trench coat with a cute little hat, and I was like, this is actually perfect. It did have a pair of heels though, and I thought, knowing Jenny and I, we will be walking and talking for blocks, and I am not going to survive in heels. So I swapped out the shoes. But I think it's a good foundation and a good metaphor for this week, because Taylor gave me the foundation. It gave me the building blocks, and I have identified what I want to change within that. And as I start to think about building value systems and really start to shape who I want to be as a leader while it's quiet, while no one is watching, I have the foundation already within me, and now I'm starting to tweak and refine and build. My value system for forever and a day has always been around joy, unity, and curiosity. Those three things are really, really close to my heart, and they are three North Stars that I have kept for a very long time. Joy being the full expression of choosing to not only be happy, but choosing situations that bring me joy. I've got curiosity because I am a genuinely curious person, and I ask a lot of questions and I do a lot of research, and I just like to find out things. And that has led me to some very interesting places over the years. But curiosity is something that I think is just the foundation of creativity, of life. Without curiosity, we end up stagnant, and there's a freedom and a flow in curiosity that I absolutely adore. And then unity, bringing people together. I bring so much joy when I'm in community. It is an absolute must have for me. I thrive when I'm around other people, building relationships, supporting one another. Just the mentality of living in a village, which I've spoken about before, is really, really close to my heart. And it's something that I strive for and place myself in really specific situations to build beautiful, healthy community with others. So those are the three pillars, those are the three things. But as I start to develop who I want to be as a leader, I'm really thinking about, before we take anyone on, before Taylor gets big, or before we go out to the world and officially do all of our launching, who do I want to be, and how do I want to show up as a leader, as a role model, as a person in the industry who is paving a way forward for joy, for self-expression, for all of these things? How do I stay true to my value set? What is that? And how does it shape and how does it mold within Taylor? What I found is that values are only as good as what they're prepared to cost you. What are you prepared to give up to make sure that your value system stays intact, that stays as your North Star? And so what I've been reflecting on is, like I say, who do I want to be as a leader? Who is that person that is going to show up and drive Taylor forward, and what value system is important to me as a person, but also within Taylor? A really good example of this has been joy, and I love joy. There's something about sunshine, and the expression of joy is just so innocent and playful and beautiful, and the light up when you are experiencing joy is unparalleled. Now, joy is hard to come by sometimes, and when I was first building Taylor, I started without having any experience in coding and development. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd come up with this idea through building out this beautiful Canva board and trying to fit who I was as a person against this mind map. And when I started to go down the development route, I was having big, long conversations with ChatGPT and Grok and Claude and trying to figure out what it is that I'm supposed to be doing to start developing when I don't know any development languages. So there were lots and lots of times where joy just wasn't present in this process because I had no idea what I was doing. My frustration and my anger was definitely on the rise in many amounts of times because I couldn't move forward in any way when I kept getting stuck or going around in circles or something kept breaking and I didn't know how to fix it and I didn't really have a support network to ask why it was broken because I was so in the weeds of it. In that moment, and in many moments through that initial journey of me building this, I chose joy again and again. I chose to bring the joyful expression into Tailor because I knew that it was really important to me and the overall picture. I was having a lot of fun. But in those really minute moments, there were definitely some times where I was like, what am I doing? This is silly. This is not bringing me joy. And was ready to throw the towel in. I'm glad I persevered and it definitely continued on. But the actual reset, coming back through and saying, oh, I'm choosing joy this time, I'm choosing to follow this, was a very, very good lesson. And I have chosen to bring joy into so many different ways in Tailor. I think especially as I start to think about self-expression. And for me, self-expression and joy are synonymous in the way that they show up. When I'm fully expressing myself and I'm feeling it, I'm walking the talk, I'm doing all of the things, joy comes really naturally because you feel aligned. It feels good. You feel like you're walking the path that you are supposed to walk. And as a result, that feels really joyful. And that again is something that's so important in making sure that we have that within Tailor, and it's a safe space for people to find joy in getting dressed, in finding their style, in moving and playing. That needs to remain in the center of what we are doing. Curiosity has also shown up in so many different ways, and most recently I had received some feedback from a tester who had also tried other apps. And I have a real contention point with comparison. It's not my favorite thing, and for some reason it makes me really uncomfortable. I find it in social media. I find it when I'm trying to do competitive research. There's just something in there. I just don't love the idea of comparison because it invokes judgment. And for me, judgment is the opposite of love. When my app was compared to another app, I felt really uncomfortable, and my natural reaction in that moment was to shut down and kind of go, I don't want to do this. And it actually took me an extra week to sit down and listen to the feedback. And when I did, I went in with a really curious mind, and I was super intentional about the way that I did it, knowing that that would potentially be a natural reaction. Let's just hear what there is. What is the feedback? What are the interesting things? And sure, there's always going to be a feature comparison. As we start to move into technology, there's always going to be someone's got more features than you, or someone's got this that does this differently, or this app's built this way. And it's really easy to get bogged down in all of that. But coming at it with a curious mindset, I actually walked away with some really interesting ideas, not the ways that we can replicate or feature compare, but some interesting ideas on how we can actually adapt the platform to achieve a similar goal without necessarily directly duplicating. So bringing that into this journey has been super important because curiosity, again, is one of my core pillars. It's one of the strongest ones for me because I love the ability to think about things in a different way, to see things, to feel things, to touch things and use your senses and go through that journey so that you can come through the other side with a really different perspective or an idea or just a different understanding. And that is really beautiful, and being able to hold that space for myself and for the feedback was super important. And finally, unity has been there the whole way through, working with Michelle on all things Tailor. And I love the way that we work in unison, and we're both manifestor generators for those who follow human design. And so move at pace and have a lot of ideas. And we talk about Tailor a lot in terms of how we're going to run the business, what the app does, how we're going to position it, what the strategy is, all of those wonderful things that I've talked about before. But there are times where Michelle and I don't see eye to eye, and coming back to a place of unity is super important as we continue to move as a cloud of smoke through this unknown journey. But a specific time where I was really struggling was when we were pre-discovering that there were actually two different persona groups who were going to use this app. And Michelle was very much using it in a cataloging style, although still bringing in the creative element. And I'm definitely using it for the stylist, so the unexpected pairings of items, and really focusing on how to drive the algorithm and the AI in unison so that they can develop those unexpected pairings. And so it's two slightly different ways of using it, and both can coexist. Right? You still need to catalog your stuff to find the creativity, and the creativity as a result of cataloging your items. Before we understood that, we had a few conversations where we both kind of looking at each other like we had a third eye, because we were going, I don't really understand how you got to that result, or why don't you just do it this way, or why aren't you using that feature? And to move together in unity and keep coming back with each other to go, okay, well, let's try and figure this out, has been really amazing. And even when we haven't seen eye to eye, Michelle has been there for me endlessly. You know, this process has been so interesting to go through from a personal development perspective, also a technical development perspective, but also starting a business is not for the faint of heart, as I'm very quickly realizing. And so having Michelle there and really walking through this path together has been really special and sacred, and I've spoken about that before. But bringing that through in this particular lens, it very much touches on the core of unity, which is a super important value system for me. The other component of unity is really about how we start to build community. Now, I think that there is something so connective and amazing about how we can bring people together with what we wear. And creativity and sharing of ideas, again, I think is an amazing way of building a community and starting to open up to people and really share the journey that we're going on. And that is what I hope to do with Fits and Foundering and the app itself. There's so many different avenues of how we can achieve that. But it is one of the core things that I am looking at in Tailor. There's the style goals section. So what is your style goal? What are you trying to achieve by being here? Do you just want to catalog your wardrobe? Because that's cool, because we have amazing features that will do that, and it'll give you some really cool outfits. Or are you here because you're trying to get out of wearing black every day and you just want to find what your style actually means without having any indication at all? That's cool too, because we can do that and we can help you and we can start to find some of those patterns and figure things out together. And so wherever you are on the spectrum of how you're actually using Tailor, you'll still be part of a community that's walking this path with you. And I think there's something really sacred about that. A lot of apps touch on this, and most of them have social media functions and kind of upvotes and etc. But there still is for me this underlying piece of supporting a community with the goals versus reacting to what looks cool or what is supported by the best votes or likes. That culture can be quite judgmental, and like I said before, judgment is the opposite of love. And so I want to create a community that allows us to not judge others, hold space, build goals, and understand how we can help you without that judgment coming through, but really so that it's just a super, super safe space for people to come and join and walk their journey. So the bigger idea here really is about starting as we intend to continue. There is so much work that we need to do on our values and thinking about how we show up and how we want to move in this world. But using my personal values as a starting foundation has been something that's really been on my mind over the last few weeks as I start to explore what the actual business will look like. And I do think it's super important, if you are starting a business, if you are walking a new journey, to sit down and really think about what your personal values are and how those actually show up. How are you actually going to be true to those on a day-to-day basis? Because a business and a person that is built with the foundation of knowing those values, even if you've only got one of them locked down, knowing that you've got that North Star and having some ways that it shows up can really open up a true and honest and authentic business. And it also gives you something to fall back on. If you're ever struggling to make decisions or you don't know which way to turn, I use my values as my North Star often. It's an easy assessment. Is it bringing me joy? Am I curious about it? Does it feel good as a unified system, community? And if I can answer those three questions honestly, yes, then it's probably the right decision for me. But if there's two or more of those that are no, then it's probably not the right thing to be doing. So this week, was I foundering or was I floundering? I was definitely foundering. Living by my values is something that brings me so much joy. Ironically, that is one of my value systems. And so it feels really good and it feels really aligned, and I think it's so important. I can't stress that enough, and that is why I've made a really conscious decision to bring this into Tailor so early on. These will ebb, these will flow, they'll develop. We'll probably think of some other ones along the way, but for the minute, these are the guiding principles that we're using, and it just feels good to have that all locked in. But thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm really excited to see you back next week, and thank you so much for watching.